Hi everybody, welcome back to the She Shed. Today's tutorial is going to be on this beanie, which I've made from my hand spun yarn. You might have already seen the matching infinity scarf that I did a tutorial of, and I will leave the link below for this. And finally, I have spun up some yarn because I did not have any more of this left, but I had exactly the same wool but in different colors, so I have finally spun that up and I'm able to do the beanie. And here we are. Can you see all the glittery bits in there? Hope you can. It's very pretty. But before we start on this, I want to show you also the other wool I've been spinning up. This is for another project, but look at those colors together. Oh, it's so pretty, and I am so tempted to just scrap it all and do something with this. But no. I will do the beanie, as I've been promising for ages that I will do the beanie. So these two are for another project which I am doing a video on very shortly, and you will see that soon. So let's put those aside. Let's do that project later, and let's do this project now. So this is pure wool. There are two color types in this. I don't dye my own wool. I buy in what's called the roving, the fluffy stuff, and I spin my yarn from that. So the greeny one, the light green, is a merino, and the dark green, I believe, is also a merino, but it has a very sparkly speck through it all, which when this is in the sunlight is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if you can see it in this light. So I broke up all the roving and just spun it together. I have no idea what it comes out like, and that's why I love spinning so much, because you just get some very unique one-off wool. And that's what this is. So nobody else will ever get exactly the same as this, ever. So let's get this project started. I need to ball this up, and then we'll start making our beanie. All balled up. I do love when I do this with my when I spin my yarn, because I never know what it's going to pattern up like, how it's going to look. As you can see on this, when I did this one, no idea. It's good fun. All right, so what I spin my yarn to is a 4mm hook. So if you are doing this pattern and following along with me, you need to find a yarn that takes a 4mm hook. And we're going to be working from the rim up. So do a slip knot. And chain 12 plus 1. So 13 in your chain. And there's my plus 1, 13. Let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And we're going to be working the rim in a rib stitch. So it is going to be single crochet in the rib, and we're working from the V, the front of the stitch. So single crochet, go into the stitch. So, pardon me, miss the first stitch. Go into the second stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through the 2 on the stitch. So into the next stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through the 2 on the hook. Pull through. I should have 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Perfect. Okay, chain 1, and turn your work. Now this is where we work in the back of each stitch, and this is what creates the ribbed effect. So you're not going into your chain, you're going into the V of your stitch and doing your single crochet, and then the next stitch going into your V, another single crochet, it's all twisting. There we go, into the V, okay, and last one. At the end of the row, chain 1, and then repeat again. Every row the same, working in the back of the stitch, which means just going straight into the V, and you will end up with a ribbed pattern effect like that. So continue doing this for 78 rows if you are following along with me. If you have a very small head or a very big head, then you might need to change the amount of stitches, and it is really easy to work out how many for yourself. You just, as you make more and more rows, wrap this around your head, and when the two ends meet together, so this is one end and then the other side is going to be the other end, and when the two ends meet together comfortably, not tightly, you don't want to stretch it too much, but when they comfortably come to the neck around your forehead, that is the right width for you. So you can make this, adjust this to any width you like. You can actually also adjust this to any yarn as well. You just need to make sure that your hook size matches your yarn, and you work out what your rim is going to be around your forehead, and the rest is really easy. And once we've finished our set, for if you're following along with me, and once we've finished the 78 rows, I'll show you just how easy it is to do the rest of your beanie, and you can adjust this to any yarn you like. So I'm going to meet you back here after the 78th row, and then I'll show you how to do the rest of your beanie. When you come to the end of your 78th row, do double check that this fits comfortably around your head. If it is too tight, add more rows. If it is too loose, take some rows away. You want to make sure also that you finish at the opposite end of your tail. Okay, so there's my finish, tail opposite end. And then we are going to join this together, which is quite simple. Make sure that it's facing you this way with the hook on your right. Obviously if you're right-handed, otherwise it's going to be the other way around. Tail down the bottom of your left hand, bring together, and you're going to match up your stitches along the edge and we're going to slip stitch the two together. So go into the very first stitch, yarn over, pull your yarn through both loops on the hook. Finding your next stitch, going into that V of the next stitch, going into the top of the stitch on the other side, can be quite tricky when you're using a small hook, and bring through the 3 loops on your hook. Okay, next stitch, next loop, next stitch, alright, so if you continue working your way down, matching the 2 together, getting your nice neat seam, and I'll meet you back here at the bottom. Now we've got that joined, we're going to turn it inside out. And you can see that lovely seam there disappears. You can't tell. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is to put a stitch in every one of these ribs. So every high, low, high, low, high, low, we're going to put a stitch right at the top. And at the same time, you're going to be working in your loose thread. This is why we leave it at the opposite end, so we can weave it in now rather than sewing it in later. So we're going to be working a half double crochet into every top of every row, which theoretically should make you 78 stitches. Okay, so we're going in the top. Make sure you catch your loose thread, and then in. So yarn over in the top of the next row, yarn over, pull your yarn through, yarn over and pull through the 3 on the hook, and pull through the 3 on the hook. Yarn over through the top of the row, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull 3 on the hook, making sure to catch your tail each time. Just give it a small tug to make sure it's in there and it's nice and neat. Alright, I'm going to leave you to finish this off, and I'll meet you back here when you've got your 78 stitches. When you come to the end and you've made your 78 stitches, then slip stitch to join the 2 rows together. So not into your chain but into your first stitch. So put your yarn through from the back to the front, grab your yarn, which should be located at the front, pull your yarn through, okay, and then through, and there we go, we've got a slip stitch. Now for the next rows onwards, we are going to be working the camel stitch, which is doing the stitch in the back of your stitch. Okay, so chain 1, and then we turn the work towards us. You'll see the V there, and we're going into the back loop at the back of the stitch. Now it is the first row that is the hardest to do. Once you've done the first row, it becomes really simple. So we're going to do a half double crochet in the back of the stitch. So yarn over, see the V's at the front, turn towards you, go into that loop behind. Pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through the 3 on your hook. So for this first row, it's a lot easier to do it like inside out, I suppose. So yarn over into the back of the stitch, yarn over, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through the 3. Yarn over, next stitch along. There it is. Yarn over, pull yarn through, yarn over, pull through the 3. Yarn over into the back of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull yarn through, yarn over, pull through 3. And then what is going to happen is that's going to start leaning forward and give that lovely texture. So I'll do another one for you. So yarn over, make sure you've got the V there, yep, into the back of the stitch. Yarn over, pull yarn through, yarn over, pull through the 3. Alright, I'm going to leave you to finish that first row off and I'll meet you back at the end. Alright, so when you come to your last stitch, we're not going to join the rows together with a slip stitch and then step up and do the next row and repeat that and continue on. We're just going to continue working in the round and just go round and round and round and round and round. So you will do that for about 22 rows. So that's how many rows I did for this beanie. The amount of rows you do is purely dependent on the size of your head. So if you have a small head, obviously less rows, large head, bigger, more rows, so on and so forth. So I did, for my beanie, I did 22 rows. If you want a slouch beanie as well, you can actually make it longer too. So to continue on, just going into the back of the stitch at the start of your next row. And you can see it becomes easier because the V's will now sit at the front, so you're just working from the top and you'll be able to see it looks like another V, and that's what you're working your stitch in. So instead of working from the front where we would normally go in like that, we are now just turning it over and working from the top, and you'll see that V there and work in the back of that stitch. And you'll see that it starts to do that striped effect, just like there. I'm going to work my 22 rows off camera, and I'll meet you back here when you've done the required amount of rows for your head and show you how we finish off. At the end of your 22nd row, or however many rows you require, make sure that you end so it lines up at the back where you've got your seam. And then you need to make enough, leave enough tail so it goes around the top of your beanie. So be about right, and then cut the end off and just slip stitch the top and pull it through. Okay, so now what we're going to do is use this tail to close up the top of our beanie. So get yourself a yarn needle and weave in and out of the top. Okay, so I'm back at the beginning of that, and I'm going to now turn my beanie inside out because I want to do the sewing on the inside. Now what I like about this pattern is if you actually like the inside better, you can turn it inside out and have a different pattern that you're wearing, because that comes up quite nicely as well. So pull gently. Close up that hole. Okay. And when you've got it as closed as you can get it, sew the top up. And don't put a knot in your yarn as you're doing it. Now, how many times you go over your hole is purely up to you. And how you would like to sew it is purely up to you. Theoretically, it's staying on the inside of your beanie, so nobody's really going to see it. Okay, when you feel that you've got it secure enough, just tie your end off. I always like to do a couple of knots, better to be safe than sorry. Cut your end off. Turn it back the right way. And there you have it. There is your beanie, all done and dusted. And that only took me about an hour to make. So it is quicker for me to actually make it than spin it, but I love the result. I love how unique it is. You'll never know what you're going to get when you spin your own yarn. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I would absolutely love to see photos of your own beanie if you happen to make this up, and you are more than welcome to post any of your photos up on my Instagram page or Messenger on Facebook. My Instagram is lucky_platypus1, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you have fun making your own. Happy crocheting, everybody, and I hope to see you next time at the She Shed.